Hi folks, welcome to Crisco's Corner. Unfiltered commentary. And not your truth, the real truth. Please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thank you for your support. Welcome back. From timcast.com. OSHA guidance threatens $10,000 fines and jail time for lying about vaccination status. You know, it's amazing to me. Up to $10,000. Who the hell are people going to get $10,000? You shouldn't have to ask if your vaccination status is anyway. It's against HIPAA laws. I'm surprised that nobody's sued under the HIPAA statutes. That's what that was for. To stop people knowing about your personal health history. I forget what the acronym stands for. Basically, it protects people from their personal medical files to be public knowledge between you and your doctor. I don't get it. New rules from OSHA state that you can be fined up $10,000 and face 6 months in jail if you lie about your vaccination status. According to OSHA's guideline released on Thursdays, companies with 100 or more employees must force them to get the vaccine and be subject to weekly testing. Now, here's the thing. Two things. One is, what percent of businesses, I wonder how many millions of people, work for an employer with less than 100? They consider 100 a small business. Well, yeah, if you're a big corporation. I had a small business for 21 years. It was just me. And almost every small business that I know in the entire city, I live in Binghamton in upstate New York, is under 100. The vast majority of companies. So what percent of the working population are we looking at here? And if this is so urgent that it's such an emergency that people are dropping by the thousands, and, you know, like the adults in Charlie Brown, wah, 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 wah. If it's so urgent, what about the vast majority of the companies which are under 100? I guess, according to them, those people just must die? No. And I'll say up front, I'm not anti-vaccine. Neither is Ben Shapiro, whose company is suing the Biden administration for the mandate from OSHA. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, that's, you know, it's like saying that we're going to make selling fentanyl illegal, which it is. It's a felony to sell it. But if you're under a certain age, say 35, you only pay a small fine. Everybody else gets a felony. It makes no sense. I think that equal protection under the law, I think, what is that? The Fourth Amendment? I'm not sure. I forgot. Yeah, I mean, it's discriminatory. Why? Because large corporations have more people in them, so they're easier to process and easier to blackmail and maneuver. It's amazing to me. The guidance also explains that anyone who knowingly makes any false statement, representation, or certification may be subject to the strict penalties. Businesses who fail to comply with fines could face fines of $14,000 per violation. So you're sitting in an office cubicle, and the girl you've been wanting to ask out for a long time finally comes around and acts like she's interested in going out with you. When she asks you, are you vaccinated? You can actually go to jail if you say yes and you're not. Or you tell someone that you, in a company you work for or a factory, yeah, I'm vaccinated. You can go to jail for that? And here's the other thing besides the under 100. If this is so urgent, and these draconian fines are meant to save people from themselves because we're so ignorant that tens of thousands of people are going to be saved, and we're going to save them from their stupidity. What the hell are they waiting till January 4th for? That's a month and a half plus. So I guess everybody that dies in that month and a half doesn't matter? If people are dying so by the tens of thousands as they say there are and there's such an emergency? Now they're vaccinating children. Oh my God. And I'm not anti-vaccine. I'm not. This isn't the same as the shots you need to get to go to school. So make that comparison as asinine and ridiculous. Now there's children involved. I mean, they're not even at the age of consent. We're talking about 5 through 11-year-olds. My God, my God. Thank God, at least temporarily, the 5th District Federal Court has put a stop on the so-called mandates from OSHA. We'll see what happens. Let's read on. A Daily Caller reports under the new rules, workers must be vaccinated before January 4th, being forced to provide weekly negative testing. So, on Friday, I show a negative test, and over the weekend, I come in contact with the coronavirus, and Monday I go to work. What good does it do? And the test could show up negative, and you still could have it because it's not enough to show up on a test yet. It's ridiculous. In order to show up positive, you got to have full-fledged COVID. And if it's so contagious and so dangerous, the damage has already been done. Companies will not be responsible for paying for COVID-19 tests for unvaccinated workers unless a local law or union contract requires it. The mandate is expected to affect 84 million employees nationwide. Or a union contract. Oh, I see. The moron unions, the big ones, Teamsters and the such that endorsed Biden last year in the election, this is part of their payback, apparently. Knowing, of course, that having Biden as president of the United States will cost tens of thousands, if not more, maybe even hundreds of thousands of union-paying jobs to be gone. Without COVID, I don't get it anymore. I don't get it. How can these big unions, when their job is to represent and look out for their members, doing everything possible to make sure they're screwed over? And the union people keep them there. I don't understand. I remember, I think the guy's deceased now. He was a big Teamsters head of the union there when they endorsed Biden last year. I think it was the first or second day Biden was president. He killed the Keystone XL pipeline without even calling the Teamsters union guys saying, I'm going to give you a heads up. I'm killing it so I can throw some raw meat to my progressive climate change nut bars. He totally sideswiped them. He must have felt like a fool. I heard the gentleman died. I felt bad, rest his soul, but they screwed him over. On the first and second day he was president, they screwed over tens of thousands of union workers in one day. And these people still support this idiot, or the people that are president. It's a mystery to me. Democrats' Build Back Better legislation would increase OSHA penalties tenfold for initial levels, up to $70,000 for serious violations and $700,000 for willful or repeated violations. Pretty vague words. I remember I used to look at legislation all the time in the early 2000s when I was a city councilman. And we used to go back and forth with the city attorney. Here it's called the Corporation Council, but it's the city attorney. When they drew up legislation, and if it was vaguely written like that, willful or repeated, who gets to decide that? Some bureaucrat somewhere? We're talking about this amount of money. And here's the thing. Is it even legal, say, when I was a city councilman, to say we're going to go through some of the fines, i.e. jaywalking? Right now, jaywalking is on the books for a $20 fine plus $20 court costs. We'll say $40. We want to increase it to $1,000. You know, under New York state law, we couldn't do that. We couldn't do it. Joe Biden or the people that are president didn't have the authority to make the vaccine mandates legal. So they pushed it through, put pressure on businesses to do it. Now, if you don't do it, you're going to be called out as being anti-vax. And so they had the corporations do their dirty work for them since they didn't have the legal authority. When you combine corporations with government, it's fascism. And that's just not my opinion. That was a quote from Benito Mussolini, the fascist dictator of Italy in the late 30s and early 40s. By definition, it's fascism. Unbelievable. Forbes previously reported that proposed OSHA changes included in a previous version of the bill in September, according to a report from Fox Business. The report added that a cybersecurity research firm called Checkpoint Research has found a tenfold increase in number of people selling fake vaccine cards on Telegram from August, where there were only 1,000 sellers, to September, well, that number boomed to 10,000. Of course. Gee, do you think? How many bootleggers were there in the early 20th century in the United States to get around the federal taxes? Oh, there were quite a few in the South. You know, you hear about the old bootleggers, moonshiners. How many were there after Prohibition passed? It increased probably 50 times. So people act surprised for some reason. A firm called Counterfeit Vaccine Card Sales, a full-blown industry. According to numbers from the Biden administration, approximately 30% of the nation remains unvaccinated. While I have much preferred that requirements now become necessary, too many people will remain unvaccinated for us to get out of this pandemic for good, Biden said in a statement on Thursday. So I instituted requirements, and they are working. No, they're not. You're creating two tiers of citizens in this country. They protect our workers and have helped us reduce the number of unvaccinated Americans over the age of 12 from approximately 100 million in late July when I began requirements, just over 60 million today. Unbelievable. In America. Like I said, I'm not anti-vaccine. I say, well, John, you know, you're just playing with words. To say you're anti-mandate means you're anti-vaccine. No, not really. No, not at all. In fact, I won't say who, but Tim Pool here on Timcast has made it clear that one of his top employees has MS. And that individual cannot take the vaccine. Told by the doctor, you cannot take this. It will cause you irreparable harm. You have MS. So this individual now, Tim said, if we go out, say a bunch of employees for a dinner, that this person can't go? And that's not second-class citizenship? What about some religious? Well, so John, people use religious exemptions because they just don't want to do it as an excuse. Well, we all know now that cells from aborted embryos, aborted babies, were used in the development of vaccines. Almost all of them, actually. Now, are they in the vaccine now? No. But they were used to help in the development. That's a legitimate point for millions of religious people. It's a huge point. What do you get for that? Exemptions? Nope. Not at all. This is nuts. You know, at the beginning I thought the government, i.e., the federal government and a lot of state governments, I live in New York, unfortunately, upstate, not New York City, are really looking out for the welfare of the people. And then they started the lockdowns, which destroyed millions of lives forever. And that moron Cuomo, who's now gone, said, you know, what's worse than dying? We're trying to save your life. Oh, how about this? How about a person in his 50s, late 50s, early 60s, with a tremendously successful business that's been in the family for generations, is now destroyed, and here you are, a once prosperous family that employed many people. Now you're absolutely broke and probably owe more money than you have. And what is your future going to look like? Yes, Governor Cuomo, some things are worse than dying. I just don't understand now why they're pushing this so hard. They painted themselves into a corner, and they do what Democrats always do. They double down. They know they're getting killed in poll after poll after poll after poll. And yet they stand up there, Biden, and squints at his teleprompter and says, what we're doing is working. It's never been better for the American worker. It's never been better for the American people. We're coming out of this. It's all lies. So how are we going to believe them about anything? I mean, look at Fauci, for Pete's sake. It's unbelievable to me. What do we believe anymore? It's hard to tell. So they've sowed the seeds to their own discontent. Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, many other Democrats were just putting down the vaccines because Trump was president. And that's politicizing science. And now when people are skeptical, they act like we're stupid. Like, well, we know better than you. Before we were just playing politics. This time we're not really playing politics, so take the shot. I don't know what's going to happen. Fifth District Court put a temporary stop for the OSHA guidelines. We'll see what happens. Folks, they're embittering a lot of people. And they're splitting the country in half. And not right down the middle. In bits and pieces all over the country. Not everything's red, not everything's blue. They're looking for a war. They're looking for riots and demonstrations by the millions. And I'm not talking about what happened with Black Lives Matter and Antifa. I don't know why they keep pushing this. I really don't. They all can't be that stupid. Or maybe I'm just naive. Until the next time, goodbye and good luck.